Welcome back. In this session, we are going to see how the inversion of control is used by Spring Framework. So, we are going to write a small Spring project, which is the same Java application which we have created in our previous session. In previous session, we have created the simple Java application, okay, by creating a Java project in Eclipse. Same application we are going to write it as a Spring project in Eclipse. Okay, so here we are going to create a Maven Spring project. So before going to start, I would like to give some introduction on Maven. What is Maven? Maven is a tool used to build and also manage the dependencies. So whenever we create a project, we require a lot of libraries. So these libraries we use it in the form of jar files, right? Suppose we are going to write a project, we are going to create a application which interacts with the database, then we require drivers, JDBC driver. So the JDBC driver we use it as a jar file. So a project requires a lot of jar files. They are called dependencies, project dependencies. So if you use Maven and if we inform Maven that the dependencies are, what are our dependencies, what are our project dependencies, then Maven automatically get those dependencies jar files and put it in our project folder. So Maven uses repositories to get the jar files. So Maven uses three repositories. One is local repository, which is in our local drive. Then it uses the remote repository, which normally present in our organization network, and it also uses the repository called the central repository. So Maven first finds the jar file we require is available in local repository. If it is not available, then it will check it in the remote repository. If it is not available in remote repository also, then it will go and fetch it from the central repository. So Maven manages the dependencies, project dependencies. Maven also build the application. So Maven is a tool, we use it in our project. Okay, so now let us create a Maven project, Maven Spring project. I go to the Eclipse, file, new. This time we are going to create a Maven project. So I go and create a Maven project. So what I do is I click other, then I can find Maven project here and click next. Then I select the create simple project, then click next. I need to give the group ID and artifact ID. Group ID I can give any name. I give COM here. Then for artifact ID, I need to give the name of the project. So name of the project we are going to create. So I give the name IOC 2 because I already have IOC 1. So what I do is I click finish. Now the Maven project is created. So just wait for the project creation. So during this time I would like to introduce one XML file name. So we are going to use pom.xml file in Maven project. So whenever we want to get the jar files, the dependencies, project dependencies, Maven will fetch those dependencies and put it in our project folder. So how the Maven knows what are our needs? So we need to use an XML file to define our dependencies. So the project dependencies we have to provide it in our XML file. So we have to inform the Maven that we require these jar files or we require these project dependencies by writing these inside the pom.xml. So by looking into the pom.xml file, Maven fetches those jar files and put it in our project folder. Okay, fine. So now we are going to see the pom.xml file now. So I will just open the pom.xml file. See, this is our pom.xml file. At present there is no entries inside this pom.xml file. So now we are going to enter our entries. So since we are going to create a small Spring project which needs only jar files such as Spring Core and Spring Context. Spring Framework comes up with a lot of jar files, but for this project we require only these two jar files, only Spring Context and Spring Core. So how to write these entries? There is one small trick to do that. So we can go to the Google and write pom entries for Spring Core. So search it. So there is a result. The search result says there is one website called Maven repository. Click that one and you can find the versions. So normally I use 4.2.4 version, so I choose that one, then copy these entries and paste it inside the. Before pasting it, we need dependencies tag. We require this tag, dependencies tag, and inside this tag I can paste it. So I paste it here. Okay, so the next one is I need the Spring Context, the entries for Spring Context. I can search it here. So I can search the Spring Context inside the Maven repository website and select the same version 4.2.4 version. I copy this entry and paste it inside here. So now I have completed this one. So now the Maven fetches the jar files from the repository. Okay, so it is done now. Now you can see the Maven dependencies folder inside this project. I have the project IOC2. Inside the project I have the Maven dependencies. You can find the jar files here. So now it is done. Next thing is we need to write the Java code. So to save the time, what I do is I copy the code from the existing folder, existing project. I copy it and paste it here. So I paste it inside this src main/java. So now I pasted it. I have pasted wrongly, so I need to paste it inside the IOC2 project. So I paste it here. So now it is pasted now. So I have the class restaurant, which is the same class which we have created inside the Java application. So restaurant, in this class, one difference is it has a default constructor with a sysout. Okay, this default constructor is having sysout, and which is actually printing the text inside default constructor of restaurant. Other than that, there is no change in this code. The next thing is we need to define this Java class as a bean inside the XML file. So instead of writing the code, what I am doing is I am going to copy it from my previous project. So I copy this application context.xml file and paste it inside the src/main/resources. So I copied it. So you can give any name to this XML file. It is not necessary you have to give the same name. You can give any name for this XML file. So here we have defined this bean. So I have defined the bean for this restaurant class. So class equal to com.unauthored.training.restaurant, and the ID you can give any name. I have given Sapadu Bhavan. Okay, so this I have done that. Next thing is we need to see the main class. If you see the main class, you can see I have the main class and I have public static void main. Inside the main class I have a class called class_path_xml application context, which is actually the Spring container. So it is actually a Java class. Spring container is a Java class. So I have created the object of this class, and in the constructor I have passed the application context.xml. This string I have passed it. So now the object of class_path_xml application context is created, and this Spring container loads the XML file and it reads the bean definitions we have given. So Once it sees the bean definition in the XML file, it creates the object of restaurant. Now the restaurant object is available to us. Now we call the context.getBean and I am passing the ID. So this ID should be the same with whatever we have given here, right? The same name we have to give it here, and also we have to pass restaurant.class. This getBean method will return you the restaurant object. Now I call the method serve meal. It will print the text. So now we run this one and see. I right click it and run as Java application. So if you see the code, actually it loads the XML bean definitions from the class path resource, right? Now this is printed inside default constructor of restaurant. Why it is printed? So since it is printed because the Spring container calls the restaurant's default constructor. So inside default constructor we have the sysout which prints this text. So it is the evidence that Spring container creates the restaurant object. The next thing is the meal is served is printed because we called the serve meal method. Okay, so what is the difference between this code and the code we have created in our previous session? In our previous session, if you see that in our previous code, we have written the main class, and inside the main class we have created the object of restaurant class. But in the current session, the Spring project, the Spring container creates the restaurant object. So that is the difference. So that means the control is actually the inversion of control. Instead of we create the Java object, Spring framework creates the Java object. So that is the difference. So that is how the inversion of control is used by Spring framework. So we will see in the next session how the dependency injection is used by the Spring project, Spring framework, to simplify the Java development. Until then, bye from Java Nath.